two teams who I guess have got kind of fresh starts. There's a bit of optimism in the air with these two. Rangnick, of course, was announced this week. And what we want to know, Hugh, is which players are going to shine and which players are going to suffer under the new man. I'm going to take suffer in a second, but let us know. Let's start with some sunlight. Who's going to shine?
Yeah, I think there could be a few players that are very happy to see Ralf Rangnick come through the door at Old Trafford. Look, he is revered in terms of German football coaching, in terms of that high intensity press, the fact that he always wants to play the ball forward. I think a lot of Manchester United fans will be happy with it. A lot of people said, you look at the game away at Stamford Bridge at the weekend, although Michael Carrick came out and said he picked the team, it was his approach to the game. A lot of people that know Ralf Rangnick thought that is exactly the team that he would have picked. They felt like it was a Rangnick team, and maybe he's been on the phone, he's got his ideas across already in terms of their application, because the forward players were chasing the ball down. You think of Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho and the speed that they've got, the intensity that they can play with. I think actually they will go a level up with Rangnick in charge. But there are a few others I'm really intrigued to see how they do. Donny van de Beek, I think he could really get a chance under Ralf Rangnick. He's a player that likes to pass the ball forward and he likes to run forward, get in the penalty box. We've seen that in the few little cameo appearances he's made so far. But I think if he continues to do that at training, Rangnick will include him, I think, because that's the sort of midfield player that Manchester United don't really have. I know Bruno Fernandes is a player as well that I think a lot of people maybe have question marks over of late because of the number of times that he loses the ball, but he actually does create a high number of chances. I think if Rangnick can get into him and a little bit more efficiency from Bruno Fernandes, we could see him go back to that player that we've seen before, winning player of the month, etc. The players that I'm really intrigued by, Edinson Cavani up front. We know what sort of intensity he brings. Yes, he's got injury woes over the last, since he arrived at Manchester United, to be frank. But certainly right now, he's a player that's not going to be in the starting lineup in the next few weeks for sure. But I think actually his level of intensity, if there's a 2 up front, maybe a 3 up front, it's all about the organization. So it's all about the smarter players, the smart pressing. It's not just doing it. It's not just running. It's about how and when. And I think there are a few more experienced players in the squad who could really take Rangnick's methods on board very, very quickly. The final 2 players I need to mention that I think Rangnick's going to like, Scott McTominay and Fred. I hate to say it, but that level of intensity that they bring, we know they haven't quite got the quality on the ball. Still, forward running, desire, that ability around the pitch that other players don't have. The other players just look languid and relaxed, and that's not going to get you into Ralf Rangnick's team. You need that high pressure, high intensity game. And I actually think the players I mentioned, they'll be happy to see Rangnick come in, and they could well be in the starting lineup a lot more often than we saw under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. The question is, who's going to go out, James?
Well, I think there could be it's a clean slate when a new manager comes in. And just to say with the Fred and McTominay thing, I think it is hilarious how everyone's changed their tune on him. But I think what's happened is, in terms of the criteria that you need for players or central midfielders, the pressing has just been dialed up. And in a Rangnick system, what will be good is that when they get the ball, they'll just have to play a shorter pass because they'll already be higher up the pitch. In terms of players that are going to suffer, there's going to be some big casualties, I think. And I think Paul Pogba could well be one of those. I think in terms of the energy that he can put forward in games, he's not really that kind of player, is he? He has that sort of great long stride and is able to get about the pitch. But one of my favorite things is watching Paul Pogba sort of trot about the pitch. I don't think that's going to be available to him here. And with his injury, maybe there's an opportunity there to allow Paul Pogba to leave in January. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when it comes to Ralf Rangnick, because really he would have to play much higher up the pitch, maybe in a 4-2-2-2, you could maybe put him in that sort of second 2 of those 2. Also, maybe on the right-hand side, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. It's going to be interesting to see if Rangnick kind of wants his energy or wants someone who's just a little bit more competent going forward. That could open the door to Dalot, who I think is a good player. He's an international. I know they all are, but I think he could have a part to play if Wan-Bissaka isn't able to get up to speed in time. And the big one, I think, it's there for all to see. Ronaldo doesn't put in that work. A lot of people, and I've seen a lot of Man United fans get quite distraught, really, about the fact that, first of all, people getting the hyperbole around him being on the bench. But then those same people get quite angry about critiquing Ronaldo. and the way that he plays within modern football. Last week, we saw PSG, you saw him with your own eyes, and it was very clear, and Carragher was happy enough to say it, Thierry Henry, big players from the game, were saying that everyone's got to work, everyone's got to defend in the modern game. For Man United and for Ronaldo, yes, I think he can be intelligent enough to sort of create that shadow play to stop the certain passes. But for him to do it for 90 minutes is a massive ask. It's a massive ask. And someone's going to have to bend here. Either Rangnick's going to have to bend and accommodate him, or it's going to have to be the other way around. And ultimately, this team will become younger, I think. It'll become more energetic. And within that, is there space for Ronaldo? Of course, he's amazing with the goals that he scores. We saw it again with that fantastic finish against Villarreal last week. But can he play in a Rangnick system? I'm just not sure. But maybe there's going to be new elements that we see from a lot of players, and you've got to give them all the opportunity. And I think Ronaldo needs to be given the same opportunities, but I think he needs to be critiqued the same as well. We've spoken about Man United for a bit here, Hugh. So let's talk about Arsenal, who are doing really well themselves. I was looking at the defeats that they'd had. I think we all saw that this was a team that was massively in transition. But when you look at the defeats in the Premier League so far this season, apart from the mighty Brentford, it's been Man City, Chelsea, and Liverpool. Poor defeats in all of them. But I think those three teams are so far ahead that actually this could be a really good season for Arsenal. And they could sneak that fourth spot, couldn't they?
They could, but I think it would take a bit of a nightmare for Manchester United for that to happen, just because of the depth of Manchester United's squad. I mean, you think about the players that are out, not even regularly playing. A lot of them, for me, would get into that Arsenal team, maybe just based on experience. You look at Mikel Arteta, he's asking for more from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. We know Alex Lacazette is playing for a new contract, probably away from the Emirates Stadium. And then you have a lot of young, talented players in this Arsenal team. It's definitely improving. Mikel Arteta has turned the season around, thanks to some of those, the likes of Emil Smith-Rowe, for example, but even Sambi Lokonga, Nuno Tavares, who's, he's not perfect, but you can see the progression is coming. He's trying. He's not losing his confidence. I know Arsenal fans will be saying, there have been silly decisions in the past few games. But the fact is, the manager's telling him to play a certain way, and he's sticking to that philosophy. There are so many positive things that have happened for Arsenal so far this season. It is a side that is building. Will it be able to reach the top four? Again, I'm just not sure. You think of the likes of Ronaldo, and whether he starts or not, you almost feel like when he plays, Manchester United are going to steal a victory. If the game's tight, they've got something extra. They've got a Mason Greenwood. They've got a Marcus Rashford or Jadon Sancho, someone who can win them the game. They're just more match winners there, I think, than there are at Arsenal. I think it is all about the system at Arsenal. And when they play well, it looks great. But if they don't play well, they very much look on the periphery of getting a result. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen for them against any of the big sides in particular. So, even a Manchester United who haven't been in great form went and got a point away from home against Chelsea without putting in a particularly special performance. You've got to think, if Arsenal go to Manchester United and they don't put in a very good performance, they're not going to take a point. So I think they can. I think probably will. I think there's a good chance this will be a draw, because I think Manchester United will be taking on some new concepts from their new boss, of course. Whereas Arsenal, I think, go with a little bit of confidence following that victory last time out against Newcastle. And again, the likes of Gabriel Martinelli and some of these players that the Arsenal fans have been waiting for, beginning to enjoy themselves, beginning to come through. Things seem very stable, and look, they're happy. So I think that is one thing. When you are happy and you're in a positive mood, you can go out there and get results. And they like playing against Manchester United as well, don't forget. It's not a side that they've really struggled against in the last couple of seasons. So I'm confident they can get something. I just wonder, will there be a match winner, like I mentioned, from Manchester United? How do you see it going?
So I think it'll... I'm struggling. There's such a concoction here of so many things. You got new manager. It's at Old Trafford, but of course, Man United winless in the last 6 against Arsenal. I think Arsenal might be good on the counter-attack. The thing that sort of kills it for me is Saka. Will Saka play or not? If he doesn't play, I think they'll lose the game. If he does play, I think they'll get themselves a draw. Hi guys, James Alcott here from ESPN's Football Forecast. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and you want to check out more, make sure you subscribe to ESPN UK.